So let's start the prayers together. Om Sada Shiva Samarambham
Shankaracharya Asmadacharya-Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam.
Om
Sahana Bhavatu Sahano
Vidyam
Bhavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Vishakavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Tat Sat. Om Shivaya. Good morning, everybody. Again.
Om Namah Shivaya.
So we were doing the 12th verse, so we'll just chant it again and then we'll start off. So please chant with me. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Tatvevaham Jatu Nasam
Natvevaham Jatanasam
Natvam Neme Janadhipaha
Natme Janadhipaha
Na chaiva na bhavishyamaha
Nachaiva na bhavishyamaha
Sarve vayamatah param
Sarve vayam param.
Okay, so I have just muted all of y'all. And we have seen most of this verse in the, most of the verse now. We have seen the introduction in the earlier class. And we were on the description. And I had told you that over the next few verses, some basic features of Atma are being discussed. And I said I would give you a brief summary of those, overview of those verses before we went on to the verses. So this is the main features being described. The first one is called aprameya. So each of these is very, very important. And for a correct understanding, you should keep this in mind. The first feature of the Atma is aprameya. So there are three words, pramatra or pramata, and pramanam and prameyam. So pramata is the one who uses the pramanam to know the prameyam. And therefore, the knower is the one who uses the tool of knowledge. So whichever, supposing you are a physicist and you are studying, let us say, some particular matter portion, some particular element you're studying. So you are using, you the knower are using the tool of the knowledge, which is the physics text, to study the object, whatever it is. And therefore there are always three: the knower, the tool, the discipline, and the known. Similarly, the experiencer, the process of experiencing, which is the tool, and the experienced object. So in Sanskrit, there's pramata, the knower, using the pramanam, the source of knowledge, to know the prameyam, the subject of the object of the knowledge. So subject using the tool to know the object. Pramata, pramanam, prameyam. Okay, so pramata is also called pramatra sometimes. So no difference in the meaning. And what is known is called the prameyam. So if I know something, let us say I know this mouse. I am seeing the mouse. So I am the pramata. My eyes are the pramanam. The mouse is the prameyam. And therefore, what is clear here? That the pramata is always different from the prameya, right? The knower is different from that which is known. But here we are saying that Atma is aprameya. It cannot be known at all. Why are we saying that? Because it is because of Atma that any body is able to function. So if I am able to function as a knower, as a pramata, the reason for that is the consciousness given to me by the Atma. And therefore I the Atma am the subject. How can I then be the object? I am the very pramata, that consciousness given to be my Atma. So I am the Atma. I am the Atma, the pramata. How can I ever be the prameyam? How can I ever be the object of my experience? So aprameya means always the experiencer, never the experienced object. So we give the example of a camera, right? You can take lots of photos of the camera. You can go to the beach, you can go to the forest, you can go to the hills, you can take photographs. What do you have? You have hundreds of photographs of various things, right? You have your own face, you have your friend's face, you have a spouse's face, you have the background around you, everything is there. What is never there in the photograph?
Camera.
You will never find the camera in the photograph. And yet, will you ever ask for a proof of the existence of the camera?
No.
Why will you not ask? Because
It's understood.
Because of that, we got the picture.
because the very fact that the photograph is available means the camera is existing. Without the camera, photograph cannot be there, right? Similarly, what have I done? I've seen all these photographs, but what is not in the photograph also, I understand, is existing. So, therefore, here I am saying that I, the Atma, am the reason why everything is known. But what can never be known is the Atma. Like my eyes. My eyes can see everything. The only thing which they cannot see is what? The eye itself. But I never question the existence of my eye because I know that when I am seeing anything in this world, it is only because of the eye. Therefore, same argument is applied here. It is because of Atma only that any experience is there. And while I have all sort of experiences, I can never experience the Atma itself because that Atma is me, is I myself. But I can never experience that Atma. And therefore, it is aprameya, that which cannot be experienced. Is that clear? Any questions on that? The very fundamental nature of the Atma.
Sir, in the last class, we said that the experiencer is the RC. And
Yeah, I mean,
Atma is the OC.
we are talking about RC, right? But if you are saying what is the RC ultimately, it is a combination of OC and
Okay.
RM. And therefore,
OC
without the
body.
OC, the RC cannot function. And that is why we are saying ultimately it is
So the visible experiencer is the RC, but the ultimate is the OC. Really.
you are not saying experiencer is OC, you are saying without that OC, experience cannot be there. And
Okay,
therefore
it's
the
without the camera. Okay.
without the camera, right? And therefore it can never be experienced. The very principle because of which I am able to experience everything, that consciousness principle, which is I myself, that principle I can never experience. The RC can never experience the OC. Your confusion is because you are not, last time also we discussed, when you say I, you must be very, very clear what that I is. Okay. What is the next one? The first one is aprameya. Yes?
One
Acharya,
question.
Yeah, tell me.
are we saying that Atma is the
karta here?
No. Atma is not karta.
Isn't Atma a karta?
RC is the karta. The reflected consciousness is always the karta.
So not only is Atma aprameya, but it is also not pramatra,
Well,
because pramatra is karta.
Pramatra is the karta, Pramatra is the RC, but really speaking, this confusion occurs because you are thinking of Atma, and that is OC and RC in the same level of reality. They are not. OC is Satyam and RC is Satyam or Mithya.
Mithya.
Why is RC Mithya?
Because it has a relative existence. If OC is not there, then RC is not there. It is
It is
dependent on OC for its
it is
existence.
dependent. It is
On what?
dependent on us.
On
Reflected
OC.
RM.
On
Oh,
OC.
the
It is
medium,
Atma
OC.
plus Anatma.
And RM, both of them.
RC is dependent upon two things, the RM
RM
and
and
the
OC.
OC. Therefore, it's a
Hmm.
dependent entity, right? Therefore, when you are talking about I the seer, you are talking at two levels. I the seer am able to see because I have got the body, the RM. But the RC is mythical entity. It is a mithya. And therefore, who is the real seer? So this seer here, you have to understand as because of whom the seeing takes place. You see the difference? There is an entity because of which you can see, and there is an entity which sees. But the entity which sees cannot be confused with the entity because of which you can see, because they belong to different levels of reality. One is Paramarthika Satyam, one is Vyavaharika Satyam, right? So Paramarthika Satyam is absolute reality. Paramarthika Satyam is that which is transactional. That's why it's called Vyavaharika, transactional reality. That in which transactions takes place. So you are seeing, you are talking, everything is transactional reality. They take place in Vyavaharika. But Vyavaharika is the reality in which you can discuss. The very fact that you are discussing Jnanam, that you are attending to a class, is where in Vyavaharika or Paramarthika?
Vyavaharika.
Vyavaharika.
Everything takes place as a Vyavaharam only. So that is the understanding. That while I am in Vyavaharika, this Vyavaharika would not be possible without Paramarthika. My transactions are not possible without the OC. Okay, so this understanding you have to keep. As you go through the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, this understanding will get refined. But this is the preliminary understanding that there is a OC and there is a RC. Therefore, this understanding we will keep for the present. As I said in the beginning, there is a way of teaching. There is a way of step by step bringing in new things. It's like giving food to a child. First you give milk and then give cereal and then you give chapatis, right? You can't give chapatis on the day it is born. And this is the same way. So we are now on a provisional basis, we are introducing Satyam and Mithya. The Paramarthika Satyam, which is OC, and the Mithya, which is the RC. Okay.
One
the word of-
last question.
Yeah.
What about in the case of Samadhi, where the knower, known, and the knowledge become one, then also Atma cannot be experienced?
Atma is the very principle because of which Samadhi takes place. So the question can be answered very simply. Can you ever see your eyes?
No.
If you can't, then you got the question. Then you know the answer. Atma can never be seen, whatever it is. Samadhi hai ki jnanam hai, it can never be seen, never be experienced. Remember, I'm not saying it cannot be known.
Okay.
But even the word known has to be taken in very, very, what you call, clear understanding. Known usually means there is a knower and there is a known. Pramata and Prameya. But if you know that you are Atma, who is the Pramata, who is the Prameyam?
I
The
am
same.
Atma is because everything is one.
Atma is what? Who is the Pramata?
Atma is the Pramata
Atma.
and Atma is the
Atma is the Prameya.
No.
Prameyam.
If you are the Pramata, you can't be the Prameyam. That's logically, contradictory.
Atma is the Pramata and Pramayam is the whole
no
world
Pramayam.
or what?
There is no
Prameya is the
Pramayam.
OC and
You see how difficult the symbol
There's
is?
Pramata is the
nothing to
RC.
be known. There's nothing to
Pramata
be
is the
known.
RC because
have-
knowing is at a transactional level.
So this is why I'm
There is
saying
nothing
that
to be known at that point.
in Shastram, the usage of words has to be very, very carefully done. Unlike normal words. So what you're not going to say that I know Atma. You're going to say that I know that I am Atma. There is a huge difference between saying I know Atma and saying that I know I am Atma. When you say I know Atma, you are saying I am the subject and Atma is the object. I am the Pramata, Atma is the Prameyam. And Krishna in the very beginning is saying no, Atma is Aprameyam. And therefore you cannot know the Atma, you can only know that you are the Atma. Do you see the difference? Okay, so these sort of things are now going to be, so far we have been on a honeymoon, right? Now the concepts are going to start and you have to really, well, dig your teeth into those concepts, digest each one of them. And that is why it will take quite some time to go through the second chapter. And once you are through the second chapter, you will have almost a very clear understanding of the fundamentals of Vedanta. So each word needs to be digested well. Okay, so that is Aprameyam.
So the word, sir, is Pramata or Pramatra?
Can be
Pramata.
both. Pramata, Pramatra is the same.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the second one is Nitya. This is relatively easier. Okay. Atma is eternal. If Atma is eternal, then what happens to Atma when I die?
The body disappears, the Atma becomes, it's like the bottle and the breaking and it merging into space. So Atma is always there.
all pervading, all
Okay.
pervading. So it does.
So what you
It's
have to
all-
remember is you take the
It was
example
always
of
there.
light. Okay. So those who are studied a bit of physics will know that light by itself cannot give any light, unless there is a reflecting medium. Do you know what I mean? We generally think the moment you put on light, brightness comes. That is a normal understanding. But when you look outside at the sunlight, what you're actually seeing is the reflection of the sunlight on the dust particles in the air. It may be a concept which is unfamiliar to people who have not studied physics. But it is like, for example, when you go into space, right? Supposing you have taken a, aircraft, a rocket and gone into space. Space is dark or light?
Dark.
It's dark. Why is space dark in spite of the fact that sun is there all the time?
There are no reflecting particles.
So that you have to remember. Very important thing, that in space, why you see only the planets? Because they are the reflecting media. It is not that at night the sun is not shining. The sun's rays are reaching those planets also. But the fact is that between two planets you see darkness. It is not that sun's rays are not there. Light is there, but you can see the light only because but you can see the light only because the reflecting medium is there, the planet. right? So that's a very important thing to know, that light by itself doesn't illumine anything. It illumines only the object on which it falls, because it reflects of the object. And therefore, Atma is very similar. And that's why we use the example of the light for Atma. Atma is there everywhere, but you can see the Atma only when there is a reflecting medium. You can sense that Atma is there. I can't say you are seeing the Atma. You are seeing the reflected consciousness on the body. When you see a person alive, what you are seeing is not the original Atma, because you are the Atma. What you are seeing is a reflection of that Atma on the body of the person. The body is the reflecting medium. Okay. So when the body is gone, the Atma remains. Right? Like, you know, for example, I put up my hand. You see my hand, right? What you are not seeing actually, or what you are not, what they call, deliberately understanding, is what? When you see my hand up, we normally say, I'm seeing her hand. But unconsciously, or at least consciously, we should know that there are two things. One is the hand, and
The light.
the other is the light. Because the light is there everywhere, you don't see the light. So when my hand moves, you think that that hand is moving. Like if supposing it was a mirror and there was a light inside the light reflected in the mirror. When I move the mirror, you will see the light moves. But actually, the light doesn't move. It is only the mirror which moves and the reflected light which is moving. Similarly, when the body is moving, Atma is not moving. It is a reflected consciousness which is moving. Right? And therefore, Atma is in two forms. In the reflected form, where it is visible, where you can sense that it is there, and in the non-reflected original form, where it is there, but it cannot be seen. And therefore, it is always there, either in the visible form or in the invisible form. And because it is always there, it is called Nityaha, eternal. Okay, clear that concept? Why is it Nitya? Because it is always there. Whether you see it or not is dependent upon whether the reflecting medium is there or not upon whether it is there or not, because Atma is always there. But when the reflecting medium is there, then we see the Atma, or we see the movement of the body, and therefore we recognize that Atma is there. But when the body is not there, there is no reflecting medium, so we are unable to recognize the Atma because the reflecting medium is not there. And therefore, whether the reflecting medium is there or not, Atma is very much there. And
So
therefore,
Raviji, I have a question.
yes, please.
I have a question. So are there millions and billions of Atmas, or there is one Atma, or how is it, I am occupying one Atma, or how is it working?
Okay. Supposing you have 20 mirrors in your house and the sunlight is falling. Those who are not answering, or if there is some disturbance in a house, please mute, because it is disturbing the others. Okay, so I was saying, supposing there are 20 mirrors in your house and sunlight is falling. There are mirrors of various sizes, big mirror, small mirror, dirty mirror, clean mirror. How many images are there of the sun?
20.
As
One.
many as the mirrors. As many number of mirrors are there.
And how many suns are there?
1.
That is the answer to your question. Did you
Sir,
understand, sir?
so in a bottle of water, water is Atma and bottle is the Sharir, if I compare it with the bottle of water.
No,
The human body.
No, it's space.
no, you can't use that.
Space and
You're using
the
space.
bottle is a medium.
Bottle is the boundary, the cover, you have to use space. Water is not the right example. Unless you are inside under a sea, then you can use water. All pervading is the quality you have to look for. Anyway, the person who asked that question, how many eyes are there? Have you understood, sir?
Yes. So it means that Atma is one and it is reflected in different bodies.
Correct. And that is what you call I, reflected consciousness. Jiva Atma is the reflected consciousness. It's not the original.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Right. So I presume that Nitya you have understood, right? The concept of Nitya. Why is it Nitya? Because it is always there. Whether the body is there or not, it doesn't matter. The Atma is always there.
Yes.
Okay. So first is Aprameya. Second is Nitya. Third is Nirvikara. Vikara means change. Nirvikara means which does not change. Right? So if my hand is moving through the light, is the light moving? No. Only the hand is moving. Right? Now, if it is a dark room where the light is far away and my hand is moving, you will be able to see as if the light is moving because my hand is reflecting the light. But actually, the light is always there. Only the reflecting medium is moving. Okay, so the manifestation comes and goes of the light, but the light is all pervading. Right? So this is the non-changeable meaning of Nirvikara. That light, that sunlight, it doesn't go away at all. But as the planets move, it seems to be that the light is moving with the planet. The reflection moves with the reflecting medium. But the original light, the original sun does not move at all. And that is why changeless, Nirvikara. Okay. The fourth one is Sarvagataha. Gata literally means going. Sarvagata means going everywhere. And going everywhere has to be understood as being present everywhere. All pervading. Sarvagataha. So all pervading, the word sarvam is very important. Sarvam means everything. And when you say everything, then you have to understand that there can be no boundaries. There is no limit, no limitation. So there is no space boundary. There is no time boundary also, right? Space, for example, is the best, example for Sarvagataha or Sarvavyapi as we call it, all pervading. What is the boundary for space? And if you have to ask, what is the boundary for space? If you have to answer that question, what must you know? What point must you be aware of if you are going to say that this is the boundary for space?
If there is a boundary, then there is something else also, and which is not true.
No, when I am saying there is a boundary for space, I am saying that beyond this boundary, space will not exist.
Beginning and end.
There is a beginning and there is an end, right? If I am saying this is my body, this is the boundary for my body. So my body is within this boundary. Beyond that boundary, my body is not there, right? When you say a room, the walls of the room are the boundary for that room. Beyond that room, beyond that wall, the room doesn't exist. Space will exist, but the room is within the walls. And therefore, if I'm going to say that space has a boundary, then there must be a point beyond which space is not there. Something else should be there. But we know from practical observation that space is there everywhere. Right? And similarly, we say that Atma has no boundary. Why? Because you saw in Tattvabodha. What is the relationship between Atma and space? What is the relationship between Atma and space?
All pervading?
All pervading.
No. You have to extract things from Tattvabodha. It is not meant as academic exercise.
No boundaries. Both don't have boundaries.
Space is born.
First element which is
The
born.
first element which is born. Right? And therefore, if you take Ishvara, space is born from Ishvara. Ishvara is the Karanam, space is the Karyam. And if space itself is all pervading, what about Ishvara? How much more all pervading must that consciousness be? That is why Sarvagataha, Sarvavyapi. So that is the extraction from Tattvabodha. Ishvara is the Karana. Space is the Karyam. It is a product. It is the first element to be born. We are clear on that, I hope. Any doubts? Okay. Now, the next one is Akarta, but there are actually two features. Akarta, Abhokta. Akarta means it does, and we take it together because they are, connected to each other. Only the one who does the karma can get the fruits of the karma. So the karma, karta eva bhokta. Karta only is the bhokta. Akarta, abhokta together. Eva is very important. Eva means only. Karta hi bhokta hai. There can be nobody who is experiencer of karma if he has not done karma. And this first, therefore, we say that Atma is Akarta. So we have to understand this Akartaness is a corollary from which earlier, what they call, description. The fact that he's an Akarta is a corollary from which description?
Aprameya.
Nirvikraha.
Aprameya.
Not Aprameya.
Nirvikraha.
Nirvikara to a certain extent, but not fully.
Because when there is some action, there will be movement. So there will be a change.
Yeah, that is fine. But it is from Sarvagataha. Why Sarvagataha? Because Sarvagataha means what?
Everything and
Present
everywhere.
everywhere. Now, what is the first requirement of action?
Movement.
Movement. And if something is everywhere, from where can it move to where? So these all can be logically derived. Okay. Sarvagataha means present everywhere. Present everywhere means can it move at all? If you are going to say it can move,
No, it cannot.
then you have to say that there is somewhere where it is not there. Then only it can move. You get the point. If I have to move my hand from here to here, this is the point. This is the point at which my hand is, and it moves to a place where it is not. And therefore, if Atma has to move, it has to move to a place where it is not there. But by definition, it is there everywhere, so it cannot move. If it cannot move, it cannot do any action, because movement is the prime requisite for action. Without movement, nothing, no action can ever be done. Can you think of any action where movement is not there?
Sir, but how about the intent of the karma? That
Forget
doesn't
about that.
require any movement.
Forget about that for the moment. We are saying, is it possible to do karma? Is it possible to move at all?
No.
And if it is not possible to move, can you do any action? You can,
No.
in your experience, you can see, is there any action which is possible without movement?
No.
And movement means not only physical movement, mental movement. Thought is a vritti. Vritti means movement. Right? So this is the derivation. Because this Atma is Sarvagataha, all pervading, It is impossible for the Atma to move, and therefore it cannot do any action, and therefore it is akarta. Because Atma is akarta, and Shastra rule is that karta eva bhokta, Atma is necessarily to be bhokta also. Right? There again, space is an example. Nothing, space does nothing. And yet, without space, nothing can exist, including action. Okay? Space does absolutely nothing, but without space, there can be no action at all, because all actions take place within space. But space at the same time, because it is not doing any action, it does not get dirty, for example. You know, the light hand can get dirty picking up the mud, but the space does not get dirty. The light also cannot become dirty. Right? It's not karta, therefore not bhokta. Is that clear so far? So we have covered aprameya, nitya, nirvikaraha, sarvagataha, akarta, abhokta. And this is the essence of the Atma Vidya presented between the 12th and the 25th verse of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, these are the main features of the Atma. And therefore Krishna is saying, hey Arjuna, Bhishma and Drona are both Atma. You are also Atma. Atma is akarta. Therefore, how can you be a killer? Bhishma and Drona are Atma. They are abhokta. How can they experience the action of killing? And therefore, Arjuna, you cannot kill anybody. And Bhishma and Dronacharya also cannot be killed. So conclusion is, Arjuna, you the Atma are not a killer. Bhishma the Atma is, or Dronacharya the Atma is not going to die. Therefore, why are you dying? Why are you crying? Okay. This is what has been conveyed so far in the 11th verse and the 12th verse. And he's talking about the nature of Atma. Yes.
Acharyaji. So Nityam means always there, right?
Nityam means eternal, always there. Okay. Now, what is the nature of Atma?
So just like, just to clear the concept.
1 minute. Let me finish. Then please ask a question. Okay. Otherwise, it disturbs the flow. So, what is the nature of Atma? It is different from the physical body. Okay. So, and how do we define Atma? We define Atma as the consciousness principle called Chaitanyam. And that Chaitanyam is different from the physical body, but it pervades the body. And I said earlier, that Chaitanyam, that Atma is not a product of the body, not a part of the body, not a property of the body. It is a separate, independent entity, completely independent of the body. And it does not die when the body dies. The only difference is that you cannot recognize it when the body is gone. And therefore, this Atma is the consciousness principle which pervades the body, makes the body live, makes it sentient. And this consciousness principle, the Atma, is not bound by the boundaries of the body, is not limited by the body. It is free from spatial limitations. It is free from time limitations, right? If you remove the reflecting mirror, the original sunlight is not destroyed. It continues to survive even if the reflected sunlight is not there. And therefore, Atma Nityaha. When the mirror is gone, sunlight will continue to be there, but the reflected sunlight will not be visible to your eyes, which is what happens in space. Space is a vacuum, and therefore, when there is no dust, no reflecting medium, you will see darkness. So for seeing the light, you always require a reflecting medium. When the medium is there, the light is visible, vyaktam. When the medium is gone, the light is invisible, avyaktam. Similarly, Atma is vyaktam as life in a live body. In a dead body, Atma is avyaktam. Life principle is not available for recognition. But Atma continues to be, and therefore Atma Nitya, Atma Karta, Atma Abhokta, and Sarvagataha. That is the thing so far. Karta eva bhokta bhavati is a very, very important law. And that is why in scriptures we say that whatever you experience in your life, Karta eva bhokta bhavati. You are the author of whatever karma you have done. And the karma phalam that you experience is of karma that you only have done. What is the corollary? I should never blame anybody for my pain or problems. Other people can serve as a medium for experiencing my karma phalam. But the karma phalam is mine alone. Okay. And therefore, we say that every change that happens, every vikara which happens, it belongs to whom? The reflecting medium or the original light? It belongs to the reflecting medium alone. And therefore, the body goes through modifications. How many modifications does the body go through?
Shadvikara.
What are they?
Asti
Jayate
Apakshiyate.
Asti Jayate Vardhate Vipashnate Vipnate
No?
Apakshiyate
This should be at the tip of your tongue.
and
Viparnimate.
What is the sequence? Asti Jayate Vardhate Viparnimate
Aparnite
Apakshiyate
and Vinashyati.
Apakshiyate.
Okay. All right. Any
Shares.
questions now?
So these 5 features that we have discussed for the Atma, Aprameya, Nitya, and the other 3. So I'm just clarifying just to see that my concept is clear. That when we talk about space, then for space, like space is also nirvikaraha, sarvagataha, akarta, and abhokta. But with space, the only thing which is not there is Nitya and Aprameya. Is that right?
Sorry, come again.
So if I say that out of these 5 features, what are the features that space shares? So can I say that Aprameya, like space is not Aprameya, space is Aprameya, and Nitya and Aprameya is not something that I'll associate with space, because space is not eternal.
Yeah, you have to use the examples only for the specific attributes.
Yeah, so
we
but
are
what
using
I'm trying,
space for things like asangaha, which cannot be touched, nirvikaraha, which cannot change. These are attributes you use. You don't use space for not born because it is born. You don't use space for vinashyati because it dies. So you have to be careful how you apply the examples. They are all limited examples because all the examples are of anatma only. You cannot give example of atma. It has to be example of anatma only to understand the atma.
so but space is also sarvagataha.
Space is sarvagataha, correct.
And akarta, bhokta also.
Space doesn't do anything, and therefore space doesn't suffer from any problems. That is also right.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that we cannot say that space is Nitya. That is one thing.
Yeah, we don't use it for Nitya at all.
Yeah, and we also cannot say that space is Apramaya.
Yeah, we don't use that for all. So that these doubts should not come, because whenever we talk, we use it only to illustrate specific attributes. You cannot generalize and try to say space is Atma. Space is not Atma, of course. Space is born out of Atma.
Okay.
Okay, now let us look at verse number 13. So we will chant the verse.
Sir, just one question.
Yeah.
you for consciousness principle, you use the word chaitanyam.
Chaitanyam. From the
So
word chit.
it's the, yeah, so it's same as chit.
Chit has very many, meanings, okay? I suppose you're aware. One chit is used as
man.
for what?
Memories.
Antakarana.
Mind.
The chit used in Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is completely different. So don't get confused. We are using chit in the meaning of Chaitanya, pure consciousness.
Acharyaji, can we say that Atma is subtler than space?
See, at the moment, I would rather you don't try to express this in words which may lead to a different interpretation later. So while you can say that Atma is subtler than space, the moment you say subtler than, you're implying that they are on the same levels of reality. Therefore, confusion can offer. So just what Shastra teaches, we accept.
Okay.
Okay. So we are not,
in science we say ether.
no, ether and
Ether
all we
is
don't
very
accept.
light and is prevailing everywhere.
No. Please cancel that word ether from your vocabulary immediately.
Okay.
Okay, ether is all Angrejo ka khel hai. Wo, any English word you use will immediately obstruct your understanding. Because why? Because the concept of Atma is not there in the English dictionary. You don't have, they use words nowadays, universal soul. But it doesn't express what Atma is.
All right.
And therefore, please try to use only Sanskrit, Shastric words, not necessarily Sanskrit. The Hindi words understood correctly in accordance with Shastram. If you keep using that, you will find that your understanding becomes very clear. If you bring in extraneous words like soul and all, in fact, I don't like to use the word soul at all. According to me, the soul is only at the bottom of your shoe. So don't use the word soul, because there's a certain concept associated with soul, which is what? Some individual thing which goes to heaven and sits there till the day of judgment. So that concept is not there for us. Therefore, we should not use these words at all. Let us stick to Shastra.
Sir, when we say consciousness or consciousness principle, are these two again the same thing or different?
We are using the word principle to indicate that it cannot be experienced. Let me give an example. The heat principle. Where is it present?
In fire.
Fire.
Can you ever experience the heat principle by itself?
No.
What do you need to experience?
Medium.
What is that medium?
Fire.
No. Fire and heat principle, you do not.
Okay, the body.
Touch.
Yes.
The
You
senses.
have to use
Sparsha.
your hand.
Senses.
The heat is reflected on your hand. It is a reflected heat which you are experiencing, not the original heat. Do you get?
Yeah, I got it. Very
Remember
nice.
that anything which you experience is always reflected. There is no question of experiencing the original heat in the fire. That is why you call it heat principle.
Okay.
Same
Thank
thing
you
with
so much.
consciousness, same thing with existence. They are all principles because they cannot be experienced. We give the example of the dog. I don't know if you heard this example. There was this dog who was roaming around the beach. Okay. Heard the story?
Yes, you, sir. You told in the last session.
I told the class. Then they're not tell it again, right? So there is the original can never be experienced. Whatever you experience is only the reflected one. Okay.
Raviji, somebody asked about Samadhi earlier. I wanted to know, like, what in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the Pramana, Pramata, Prameya becomes one. So do we say that there is nothing to experience, there is just blankness of experience in Nirvikalpa Samadhi?
What is the difference between Sushupti Avastha and Nirvikalpa Samadhi? How will you arrive at that? You will arrive at what is your experience after you come out of both?
Absence of experience.
No. When you come out of Sushupti Avastha, what do you say?
I had a good
I
sleep.
feel the
Bliss, in fact. Bliss, in fact.
No. You will say, I didn't know anything. All the rest of it is interpretations. The only true thing you can say is that I did not have any experience. My only experience is of not having any experience. Do you agree?
True. Correct.
Whether I had bliss or all those things, these are interpretations.
Correct. Correct.
Your correct statement should be, I had no experience. When you come out of Samadhi, what do you say?
I don't know actually.
What happened?
You will say, I was in Samadhi. Yes?
Yeah.
And if you say that you were in Samadhi, was there a thought or not?
Right.
So the difference is, there is a specific thought in Samadhi, which is very subtle, which is why during the Samadhi, you do not experience. For that matter, in Sushupti also, we say that the subtle thought exists. What is that thought? That
Vritti.
What is that thought which you experience in Sushupti Avastha?
Blankness, no experience.
If you want to express blankness as a thought, what will you say?
Happiness.
I have no thoughts.
Freedom.
How many different answers? The only correct answer is what? I have no thoughts. Everything else is a superimposition. Happiness, bliss, right? The only correct thing you can say is that during my Sushupti Avastha, there was a very subtle thought in the form of I had no thought. I am not having any experiences. Only since the mind is not functional during that Sushupti Avastha, that thought remains subtle. It is picked up by the mind when you wake up. The same thing with Samadhi Avastha. But you are not saying I am not having any thought. You are saying I am in Samadhi.
Right.
Acharya-ji, when we when you said when we come out of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, our experience would be that I was in Samadhi.
Yeah.
So will that experience not stem out of the fact that while I was sitting in Samadhi, so before the experience of it, I knew that I will go and I will sit in Samadhi. Like when I go to sleep, I know before going to sleep that I will be going to sleep now. So when I wake up, if I had a deep sleep, I could say that I was sleeping and that's why I had no thought. So similarly, if I'm going
No, that is not the thing. Your memory, your thoughts are always being recorded. So before sleeping, your thought is that I'm trying to sleep, I'm trying to sleep. Right? After sleep, you get up, then there is something saying that I have woken up.
Yes.
But there is something connecting the two, no? The same jiva is still present during all the three experiences. So while it's one explanation to say that since I experienced nothing, but where did you get that knowledge that you experienced nothing? Who told you that?
The time and the spatial limitation of my body.
No.
The
Any knowledge you get takes place where?
in the mind.
Mind.
So if you know that I had no experience, that is also knowledge. I had no experience is knowledge. I had experience is knowledge. That understanding has to be clear. And then if you are saying I had no experience, that experience of not having experience
is an experience.
Is there in your mind.
So Acharya, when we come out of Nirvikalpa Samadhi and we say that we were in Samadhi, and like you said that we always have a subtle thought. So the Pramatra, the Prameyam and the Pramanam all merge into only the Pramatra, the Pramatra.
We say the Tribhuti disappears. The focus is so strong that the differentiation is not felt. And this is not something which you have to go to Samadhi to experience, Supposing you are watching a very, very, interesting movie. Interesting movies differ for different people, okay? So some people might find a very, violent movie interesting. Some people might find a very romantic movie interesting. But when you are completely focused on the movie, do you remember that you are watching a movie? So you are in movie Samadhi.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what exactly is Samadhi? Ram, why are we going into that?
I think we'll park that question, okay? That question.
So we discussed so much about it. Every class there is a question on Samadhi.
I told you, Samadhi is like I can complete focus to the exclusion of everything else. Everybody has Samadhi for interesting things. If when you were young, you were talking to your boyfriend or girlfriend, you are in that boyfriend Samadhi, Nothing else enters your mind. People can call you, you will not hear. Is it not? Like watching an extremely interesting movie. Like I remember when I was those new TV had just come out, okay, and we used to watch with complete concentration. Your mom used to call, falls on deaf ears. The bell used to ring, fall on deaf ears. What is that? That is Samadhi. The complete focus is called Samadhi. You are all
Raviji,
going
I
by
have a
the
question which is
implied meaning of Samadhi, that you are in some mysterious state. No.
Acharya ji, I can tell you that I have had that experience of no experience.
All of us have it every night.
Yeah. But like for 12 minutes, I was gone and I am living a second life. So the person who helped me said that you are living a second life, and for those 12 minutes, and this is it true, or then I had no experience at that time.
In Vedanta, we don't accept all those things. It's very easy for people to tell us this, and sometimes we want to believe it, so we believe it. But Vedanta goes strictly by your intellect. Anything not acceptable to your intellect, not explained properly, has to be rejected. Which is why we say that Samadhi we do not accept as a means of knowledge. The problem with these kind of answers is that sometimes it hurts very passionately held beliefs. Which is why I said at the very beginning of this session that, if my words hurt you, then you have to forgive me, because I'm only conveying Shastra. I'm not conveying my opinions. So you will find sometimes that I'll say things which, they will hurt a person only if there is a passionately held, opinion. So this is an opportunity for us to examine that opinion, how really valid it is. That is all that Shastram wants to say. Please don't accept anything without intellectually examining it.
Abhiji,
Yeah.
I have a question, Ji. When we talked about Samadhi, can Samadhi be experienced when one does passionately the duty, like taking care of somebody or doing a surgery, cannot be done?
Samadhi is a complete closure of your mind. You can't experience Samadhi excepting when you are formally sitting.
No, when you said when we watch TV or so, we don't listen to somebody calling us.
Your sense organs have gone. So actually, that's not Samadhi, it is Pratyahara.
Okay, fine. The little difference.
Samadhi is completely different. Your mind itself is shut down.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? We still have He's already
Yeah,
dying.
Acharya ji, so when we said that Atma is a karta bhokta, so that means the only karta and the only karma, karma phalam, etc., everything belongs to Taijasa.
No. Are you saying
Belongs
Atma
to the
is different from
Sukshma
Taijasa?
Ha, so Taijasa is the Sukshma Shariram.
Huh?
Taijasa, see, technically Taijasa is not Sukshma Shariram.
No.
Taijasa is what?
Taijasa is RC2.
RC2. Sukshma Shariram is the RM2.
Yeah.
And therefore,
So it doesn't belong to RC2, it belongs to RM2.
No. It belongs to the RC. Sukshma Shariram is, when you say Sukshma Shariram, you have to use it in the terms of Jivatma. Remember that whenever you say Jivatma or the R, why do we use the term RC? You have to, because to make us understand that when I use Sukshma Shariram, you are also using that Sukshma Shariram as a RM to reflect the RC. So it is Jivatma Sukshma Shariram.
So karma belongs to whom?
Karma belongs to the RC. The RM is inert. How can karma belong to RM?
So it doesn't belong to RC1, it doesn't belong to RC3.
No,
so it belongs to RC2.
See, it is difficult to distinguish like that. Okay, the Jivatma is a combination of 1, 2, and 3. RC1, RC2, and RC3.
Huh.
Right. Karma always
So RC1
belongs...
is using the prarabdha.
No, one thing. Let's come to this little bit of technical problem over here. Okay. Sukshma Shariram. Let us say RC2. Is it capable of doing karma?
No.
RM2. RM2 is not capable of doing karma without
Don't say
RC2.
RM2. RM is the inert medium. RM cannot do karma at all. The only thing which can do karma is the live, is the live entity, which is a combination. Only RC can do karma. RM cannot, OC cannot.
Right.
Only RC can do karma. So if you are saying that RC2 is doing karma, you are saying that Sukshma Shariram blessed with consciousness doing karma. Is that possible?
No.
Yes.
Why is it not possible?
Yes, it is.
Because it will need the body,
needs the physical body. No karma can be done by subtle body. Please remember, subtle body is the instrument which is using the body, physical body.
Then who's carrying the karma phalam from one?
Karma is being carried by Sukshma Shariram, of course. But during the period of it being in the physical body, who is experiencing it?
The body.
Two experiences are there. In terms of physical pain, the physical body experiences. In terms of mental pain, subtle body experiences.
So if I'm allowed to rephrase, Sukshma Shariram is carrying the karma, but the karma is being experienced and being done by the Sthula Shariram with the reflected consciousness.
It can be experienced only in combination with the Sthula Shariram. That is the point.
Okay.
Otherwise, once the physical body dies, until the next physical body is received, the Jivatma without the physical body does no karma, experiences no karma.
Right.
You need the physical body to either do or to experience.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think that's done it. So we close. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam
Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidam
Purnamadaya Purnameva
Vashishyate Om Shanti
Shanti Shanti.
Om Tat Sat.
Om Tat
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.